A very good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and you are just in time for the ambassador with me, Ambassador Susan Ng'ang'a. Here is where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. To our first story, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, convened its 67th ordinary session of heads of state and government in Abuja, Nigeria, amid significant regional tension and a critical leadership transition. The summit focused heavily on the formal withdrawal of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, three military-led countries that have severe ties with ECOWAS following recent coups. ECOWAS Commission President Omar Aliu presented an update on negotiations regarding their exit, a move that will reshape the bloc's political and economic landscape. The meeting marked the end of Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's two-year tenure, restoring constitutional order, deepening democracy, revitalizing regional security cooperation, unlocking economic integration, and building institutional credibility. In a last-minute effort, Tinubu invited the leaders of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso to a sub-regional economic meeting, but they declined. Political tensions are heating up in Ivory Coast as two major opposition parties recently barred from the 2025 presidential race, former United Front, with prominent figures like Laurent Gbagbo and Tidjane Thiam at the center of the controversy. The move is shaking up the country's political landscape just months ahead of critical election. Here's more on the unfolding standoff.
In Ivory Coast, political tensions are escalating as two key opposition parties, the PPCI and the PDCI, join forces after being excluded from this year's presidential election. They are demanding that their leaders Laurent Gbagbo and Tidjane Thiam be allowed to run and that certain opposition candidates be removed from the race. The alliance comes amid growing unrest, with Gbagbo launching the Enough is Enough movement to oppose President Alassane Ouattara's potential fourth term. Critics say the court-led exclusions are politically motivated, aimed at silencing political challengers and tightening control over the electoral process. Meanwhile, the ruling RHDP party downplays the opposition's demands, insisting the decisions are purely judicial. But as the October election nears, the clash between legal rulings and political realities threatens to deepen the country's divisions. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
Moving forward, the Sahel region of sub-Sahara Africa has become the global epicenter of terrorism, according to the Global Terrorism Index 2025. This marks a dramatic and troubling shift in the geography of global terrorism over the past 2 decades. The Sahel now counts for 51% of worldwide terrorism deaths, a staggering rise from just 1% 17 years ago. Five of the 10 countries most affected by terrorism are in the Sahel, including Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, and Chad. Burkina Faso remained the single most affected country for the second year running. Deaths from terrorism in the Sahel have increased nearly tenfold since 2019. In 2024 alone, the region saw over 25,000 conflict deaths, with 4,000 directly attributed to terror. 17 of the 20 deadliest terror attacks in doubt.
We are getting healthcare assistance from the UN and all affiliated organizations. In terms of water, we are also being assisted. As we have been moving around, we see that the fighting back in Congo keeps getting worse. We have no money. I can't return my family back to the violence. it doesn't add up going back home to go and live in hiding. How are we going to survive?
Kisha sisi tutakuwaje?
The Democratic Republic of Congo has extended its ban on cobalt exports for an additional 3 months, introducing export quotas as an alternative to the ban. It advocates for lifting the suspension. The ban has already contributed to a significant rise in cobalt prices, with prices increasing about 45% rather since February to around $30,000 to $100 per ton on the London Metal Exchange and surging in Chinese future markets as well. The extended suspension is expected to remove more than 100,000 tons of cobalt from the market over 7 months, threatening supply and supporting prices. The ambassador will take a short break. We'll be right back with even more.
Hello, boys and girls. How are you today? Because I am very, very happy. So we are on Kids Mind on GBS TV.
Today we're going to make ta-da! A boba tea letter set.
We are moving to singing class.
Skinamarinky dinky ding, skinamarinky doo. I love you.
The tortoise and the hare. Friends, do you know about this story?
Now you're finished to make.
Enjoy yourselves, everybody. She saw it was Kristen based. And when I see Kristen based, that's what the character my mother wants from me. And I like the sports that we play for PE. Like sometimes we play table tennis, we can play football, we match, and on Fridays we have games. And we verse the teachers in football. And this is why I think the school is the best school your children can go to.
My name is Ima Gatoru. I'm a model, a commercial model to be precise. And I've been asked this question, like, is model an art? And yes, modeling is an art. Because there are different products that you're supposed to promote or design, and you have to have that skill of you promoting that design or that product. So how you walk, how you talk, how you present yourself, like how you pose for a picture or pose for an item in your mepewa, or how you drive into a place in your mepewa. So you have to have that art or that skill for you to actually deliver what they want you to deliver. So yeah, modeling is an art.
Because I am very, very happy. So we are on Kids Mind on GBS TV.
Today we're going to make ta-da! A boba tea letter set.
Everybody.
A student can transition from other curriculums, such as the Kenyan CBC curriculum, the Pearson EdExcel curriculum, and the IB curriculum, to the Cambridge curriculum.
Is the best school your children can go to.
My My name is Ima Gatoru. I'm a model, a commercial model to be precise. And I've been asked this question, like, is model an art? And yes, modeling is an art. Because there are different products that you're supposed to promote or design, and you have to have that skill of you promoting that design or that product. So how you walk, how you talk, how you present yourself, like how you pose for a picture or pose for an item in your mepewa, or how you drive into a place in your mepewa. So you have to have that art or that skill for you to actually deliver what they want you to deliver. So yeah, modeling is an art.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the bulletin to more exciting news here in Africa. After more than a century in foreign museums, 119 priceless artifacts have finally returned home to Nigeria. The Netherlands handed over the looted treasures, including intricate human and animal figures, ceremonial regalia, and a historic bell during a solemn ceremony in Edo State. These artifacts, collectively known as the Benin Bronzes, were stolen in 1897 when British forces invaded the ancient kingdom of Benin in what is now southern Nigeria. The return of artifacts is part of a growing international movement to address colonial-era looting. Nigeria's National Commission for Museums and Monuments has formally requested the repatriation of hundreds of items held in institutions across Europe and North America. Thus, the Sandover adds to earlier institutions, including 72 items returned from London Museum and 31 from Rhode Island in 2022. Signaling a shift in how global institutions reckon with historical injustices rather.
The return of 119 of these treasures is not just a restitution of items, it is a restitution of our dignity, of our identity, of our values, of our ideals. And
fought and did everything possible to see this day, happen.
At least 6 people, including more aid seekers, have been killed in the latest Israeli attacks on Gaza. The attacks comes as a desperate Palestinians under Israel blockade continue to wait at food distribution points amid an ongoing hunger crisis.
Between Israel and Iran dominate headlines across the region, the people of Gaza continue to pay the highest price, not from missiles in the Gulf, but from bullets and bombs here at home. Over the past 72 hours, airstrike and drone attack across central and southern Gaza have surged. Entire residential blocks in Khan Yunis, Sahara have been reduced to rubble with dozens killed and hundreds displaced once again. Civil defense teams are overwhelmed and hospitals already crippled by siege conditions and operating far beyond capacity. On Sunday, Israeli forces opened fire near a food distribution site in Rafah. On a separate attack, an airstrike on a residential home killed a man, his wife, and his 2 daughters. Other family members were left in critical conditions. Satellite imagery and local footage confirm a wave of home demolition of residential clusters in the eastern Gaza Strip. Home by home, block by block, the destruction continues with no regard for the civilians who once called these places home. Meanwhile, hospitals across the Gaza Strip continue to be overwhelmed with injured people arriving around the clock. As the region inches in closer to a wider war, Gaza is already living one, under siege, under feed, and now more invisible than ever. The bombs do not pause because the headlines shift. And here, hope is as scarce as bread. Reporting for GBS TV, I'm Paul Elmine.
that Zambia is mourning the late President Edgar Lungu is not in question.
The Zambian nation is still engulfed into an indefinite mourning. Not to mention that the late Lungu has neither been accorded the befitting send-off, nor has his soul found a final rest in peaceful place. The political rivalry between the late Lungu and Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema, who hosted Lungu in 2021, continues to linger. This is enmity in life and death. Here is a glimpse of the altercation between them.
But let me tell you that this technique of referring to the past won't take us anywhere. We gave up power in 2021, and the new government is in place, and we look at what the new government is doing. And because they are failing lamentably, that's why we are here. So, had we been in power, you would have asked me that question. Because a certain guy came, President HH came to fix it. He came to fix it, and he's not fixing it, and that's why we are worried. And when I say I lost power, yes, we lost power in PF, but we didn't lose God. We didn't lose the love of Christ. We'll keep coming to churches, we'll keep congregating with our friends, and those of you who feel sick about it, please, I hope you will find care.
One time I was in Mkobeko, he put me in there. He must say thank you that I'm the president of the country. If I was to do what he did to me, he wouldn't even be going to church the way he was in church yesterday.
Debate over the late Lungu spilled into Zambian National Assembly.
Please understand, Honorable Member from Matero, he was our president. All of us. Just like President Hakainde is your president. Whether you like it or not. Being in opposition doesn't make the president not your president. And that is where the confusion starts from. Let Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu was our president.
Last week, President Hichilema announced the end of the mourning period.
Given these circumstances, I therefore wish to inform the nation that as of the end of today, the 19th of June 2025, this particular national mourning period is officially over. This will allow the country to begin to return to some normalcy.
Likewise, the family announced that it had bought a house in South Africa, ready to bury Lungu. From both the statements, there was no clear date for Lungu's burial. President Hichilema, in a meeting with a delegation from South Africa, sent by President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Lamora from South Africa, in charge of international relations. We're very delighted that President Ramaphosa has sent the minister and his delegation to allow us to have a conversation, a decent one for that matter, in resolving the challenge that we are faced with. The country is aware of the challenge. We don't have to reiterate that. Our wish has been very clear that we would like the mortal remains of President Lungu, our sixth president, to be buried in his home country, Zambia, and not in any other country.
Moving forward, Singapore Airlines, Air France, KLM, and British Airways have cancelled services to key regional hubs, including Dubai, Riyadh, and Doha. American Airlines and United Airlines had already suspended flights to Qatar and Dubai ahead of the strikes. Flight tracking data from Flightradar 24 showed dramatic drops in air traffic over Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Israel early Monday as carriers avoid potentially dangerous airspace. The closures recall the Russia-Ukraine war, when airlines were forced to reroute around closed airspace, making Middle East corridors crucial for Europe-Asia travel. Now, heightened tensions are once again forcing carriers to reconsider routing option. Safe Airspace, a group monitoring global flight risk, warned that the latest U.S. action could increase danger for American carriers in the region. Ongoing missile and drone attacks are also compounding risks for civilian aviation. Meanwhile, Israel is ramping up efforts to assist stranded travelers. The Israel Airport Authority announced 24 rescue flights scheduled for Monday, each carrying up to 50 passengers. National carriers El Al reported receiving around 25,000 requests to leave the country in a single day. Moving forward to the United States, Tesla has launched a limited robo-taxi service in Austin, Texas, offering paid rides without human drivers for the first time. CEO Elon Musk announced the rollout on social media with a select group of influencers sharing videos of their rides. The vehicles have erupted worldwide in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to strike Iranian nuclear facilities, marking the most significant Western military action against Iran since 1979. The airstrikes targeting key sites in Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan, utilizing 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs in coordination with Israeli assaults. Protests also spread to major cities across Europe, including The Hague, where over 5,000 demonstrators marched to the International Court of Justice, calling for de-escalation and diplomacy. In the United States, cities like New York and Los Angeles saw anti-war demonstration, with protesters warning of potential retaliation and unnecessary provocation. The United Nations Security Council convened urgently with calls for ceasefire led by Russia, China, and Pakistan. Civilian casualties are rising and fears of a broader conflict loom, with over 400 Iranians and 24 Israelis reported dead. That's all we had for today at The Ambassador. Thank you for joining us as we cover the latest developments. We'll continue to bring you updates on these stories and more as they unfold. Remember, this is The Ambassador, where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. I have been your Ambassador Susan Nganga. Have a good afternoon.